Today we're going to do a demo of the Grid Gallery block in FolioBlocks Pro, which is a premium plugin for WordPress. Let's go ahead and start by adding the Grid Gallery block into the block editor. We'll go to the top left and click on the block inserter, and then we'll scroll down to the FolioBlocks section and find the Grid Gallery. We can drag it into the block editor. Now, before we add any images, let's set the width that we want to work with in today's tutorial. We'll go ahead and set it on full width. We can now select images from our media library. And let's go ahead and select all of those, create a new gallery with them and insert them. Great. So now our gallery has rendered and you can see all of the images are there in a nice, clean and uniform gallery. The images have been added into the gallery as inner blocks, which means they're independent of the main gallery block. And that means you have the freedom to grab them, drag them, and drop them to rearrange. You can also grab images on the list view in the left-hand side. You can just grab an image, drag it, and drop it. Now, since these images are inner blocks, you can click on any image and it will bring up the image block settings on the right-hand side. Here you have an option to change the image, modify its image caption, image title, or alternative text. As you work in the gallery, additional block settings can be displayed down here as well. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the settings for the actual grid gallery. We'll click on the grid gallery in the list view, and you see the settings have come up on the right-hand side. The first option you'll notice at the top is one to set the resolution of the images used in the gallery. Now here it pulls in the default image sizes from WordPress: thumbnail, medium, large, and full. And if your WordPress theme has any additional sizes that it's registered, they should be present here as well. After that, you have an option to set the amount of columns that you're going to use in the gallery. So we can drag this slider down. You see the images get larger as we use fewer columns. We drag it back up and they get larger as we use more columns. There is an option here to switch and set the amount of columns for tablet. Bring that up, and mobile as well. The next setting allows you to set a random image order for the gallery. So let's turn that on. You see the images have been randomized. Now with this active on the front end, you will get a random order on every page load. Turn that off for now. In the following section, you have lightbox and hover settings. The first one is enable lightbox. We can turn that on and we get an additional control asking if we would like to show the image caption in the lightbox. Let's go ahead and turn that on. Let's save that. And let's take a look on the front end. So here you see the gallery, and if we open up an image, we get the image caption inside of the lightbox. Let's look at a couple more. Nice. And let's go back to the editor. You can turn that off. The next setting is show overlay on hover. Let's turn that on. And now when you hover over an image, the image title will be shown in an overlay. This setting has a couple of style options. So we can set it on the blur overlay, which is the default, or we can switch to a fade overlay, a gradient overlay, which is a gradient from the bottom of the image, and lastly, a chip overlay, which puts the image title in a chip in the top left corner of the image. Let's turn that off. In the next setting, you have gallery filtering settings. Let's enable image filtering here. And with this enabled, you'll see that you get a filter bar at the top of the gallery. In the settings, you have an option to set the alignment for the filter bar. So you can move it to the left, the center, or the right. And then beneath it, you have an option to set the categories. Before we set the categories, let's go and style the filter bar so that it looks nicer. We can pop over into the styles panel. And then at the bottom, you see we have a gallery filter bar styles option. Here we can change the background color on the main button. And then for the inactive items, let's go ahead and change the color to white and the background color to a different shade of blue. That's going to look much better. Now let's go ahead and add the categories. Now for these images, you have wildlife, You have architecture, you have landscape, and then you have fashion. So you see we've added the categories. They appear here at the top. Now all we need to do is link the images with those categories. We can click on an image and you see we have a new section here, and you can go ahead and select the category from a drop down. So we'll put that in wildlife. It's wildlife as well. We use architecture for this. Here's landscape, architecture. Let's do one last one. So now you can just click on the button and you can filter the gallery. Let's take a look at it on the front end as well. Not bad. We'll go ahead and disable that for now and move on and take a look at the next setting. Here you have your e-commerce settings, and the first option is to enable image downloads. We can turn that on, and now when we hover over our images, you get a nice download icon. There is an option to show the icon on hover or always. And I just want to say that the icon lets you download the full resolution of the image. We'll turn that off. In the next setting, you have your enable WooCommerce integration. Now this here will only display if you have WooCommerce installed on your website and active as a plugin. Let's go ahead and turn that on. And you'll see you get an option asking if you'd like to show the add to cart icon on hover or always. We can leave it on hover. So with this turned on, all you need to do is go to your images. You can click on an image. You see you get a new e-commerce settings section. And here you can search for the image in your WooCommerce store. So I know this is in the store, so I can search for it. There you go. And I know that this is also in the store. So let's go ahead and search for that. There it is. And now when I hover over these images, you see that they get the add to cart icon. With WooCommerce integration activated, you also get some additional settings on some of the other features. So if we go back to our enable lightbox, we'll turn on the lightbox, you now get an option to show the image caption or the product info in the lightbox. Let's turn that on and we'll go ahead and switch it to showing the product info. We'll save that, open the front end and reload. So now when I click on this image in the lightbox, instead of seeing the image caption, I'm seeing the product info from WooCommerce. So it's the product name and the price. And the same with that one. Now the images that haven't been connected with products, they will gracefully fall back to showing their caption. And it's a similar thing in the overlay. Turn on show overlay on hover, and you get the option to show the product info or the image title. So we should put it on show product info. And there you go, you get the product name and the price, and the images without products fall back to showing the image title. So that's WooCommerce integration. Let's go ahead and turn that off as well. You then have the advanced section, and here you have disable right click on page, as well as enable lazy load of images. I think these are pretty self-explanatory, so we'll just move on. Which brings us to the styles panel. In the styles panel, you can set a background for the entire block. So we could put a white background on the block. And you can also add padding and margin to the block if you like. We'll put a little padding there. We'll skip the margin. You then have a section to add image styles, and that lets you add borders and border radius and drop shadow into your images. So here, let's add a border color. Let's make it a bit more gray so it stands out. And then we can add a border width. You can see the border. And then we can also add a radius to it. And then lastly, we can give it a drop shadow. So there you go. That is the grid gallery block in FolioBlocks Pro. Thanks for watching.